Hello, friends. It's Chapo. All right. Well, let's move on to. I have a reading series for today to round out today's episode, and of course, we're talking the Queen. We were blindsided on Thursday. We didn't really get a full chance to dive into the Queen, but like the reading series is a good one.
The
But
Queen's
like
golden.
it's run its course. Like I've seen enough threads about the history of imperialism. Like it was fun the first day, but look. And here's another thing. I don't really hate the British. You know what I mean? Like it's a little bit of light ribbing among cousins here. Like I'm quite
Yeah.
fond of British people and British culture. Like they're really no, they're as we said before, like slightly more fucked up and evil than America is, but like we're their kids. So I
They're the
mean,
earlier generation. They're just like 1.0. Like we're just the upgrade.
There is nothing more embarrassing to me than when Americans just thoughtlessly repeat anti-Anglo behavior. There are so many people who are completely within their rights, but when an American is like, "Oh,
Embarrassing.
I hate the fucking British. Why do you hate them? They eat disgusting slop food and they had the most evil empire in the world." Huh? Huh? What's the problem?
it's protection. It's what
When they all decide
I
that
think
they're IRA members, it's just like, oh fuck
Oh my
you,
god.
man.
Oh my god. I love the people who like after the
armored
queen died.
cars and tanks and guns. Oh, sorry.
I love the people who after the queen died of old age was posting IRA guys. They
Yeah.
didn't do this.
Was it Felix?
What the
You
fuck?
describe you describe Queen Elizabeth as the Walmart greeter of imperialism. And look, I don't
Yeah.
think I don't think that's not to say like none of the defenses of all these people who are like, I'll have you know, Queen Elizabeth actually presided over the great dismantling of the British Empire. It's just like, oh yeah, like that was her decision, and like like none of these former colonies were just given independence, like out of the fucking gratitude of the British fucking state.
And
It was
also,
just it
it
wasn't.
doesn't count if you just remove the colonial context. You have to actually make up for it. You have to repair the breach. You have to give back the money.
Yeah, yeah, and
You
that's the
can't
thing is
just hold
like
on to the money.
like look, yes, it is always it's I understand it's fun to wind up British people because when you see some
Are you having
watery
a piss,
bins
mate? Are
watery
you having
bins
a
all
bloody laugh at the Queen's
getting their
expense, mate?
knickers getting their knickers in a twist because someone's making fun of the damn queen. It's like, look, how could you resist doing that? Especially when to imagine people actually crying over this shit. Come on, that's what Twitter is for. If you want to be nice, go elsewhere. That being said, though, like the defenses of the queen from people who were like, "Oh, I wasn't aware Queen Elizabeth personally did all of the, war crimes of the British Empire." It's just like, well, no, but she is, as you are fond of repeatedly bringing up, a symbol of everything Britain and the once great British Empire represents. And most importantly, is still sitting on the billions in wealth and property wrung from the blood of the fucking world. So, like, until she's ready to give that back, then I'm sorry, then yeah, she still gets to foot the bill for all the evil shit that Great Britain did, even if she wasn't alive or technically didn't do it herself. She is still the inheritor of like the wealth of an entire fucking system that you can't say that she's the symbolic power of a constitutional monarchy is like anchoring Britain and the people to like its past and tradition, and then like get to declaim that same symbolic power when you have to foot the bill for all the evil shit that it represents, like the slave trade or the British
Like I
Empire.
said, you got to give it back, or it doesn't count.
And
Right,
that's
right.
why
Like
that's why, as you said, like it rings. I mean, look, everyone likes to have fun doing it, but it rings a little hollow when she dies at 96, never having surrendered even an ounce of her fucking authority or had any of her wealth and privilege stripped from her at all.
people got so upset for me for saying that. People got like I mean making
Well, I
jokes is
mean,
one thing. Like it's fun like there are some funny jokes, but just like acting like it's a victory is just insane. That's ludicrous. I'm sorry, it just is. It is. Don't let me
I mean,
stop you from having your fun, but like come
I mean,
on,
like
this
the
is
the victory is in making terrible people get angry and feel bad, but that's
Oh
it.
yeah, for
And like
sure.
it's
For
but
sure.
it's like but it has like a 24-hour the wick on that stick of dynamite only lasts that long, and then it just fizzles out.
But it's like I don't know. Again, it's like yeah, okay. They have it's ridiculous that they have the queen and now the king and that they love it so much. It's hilarious. I mean it's always there's always something silly about it when it just like like England or fucking Japan or any of these places where the monarch doesn't really do anything. They're like just a purely ceremonial role more or less, but I don't know. Like they have the queen. We have like Jocko Willnick. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we have a democratized monarchy of all of our favorite stars, all of our butch heroes.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, I think we talked about this on before, but like, I mean, there's something to be said that like we should have a monarchy of a king or queen that is like change, but it's not eternal. It changes like every 4 to 8 years, where we
A
just
life
essentially elect the number one and two biggest male and female celebrity to be king and queen of America.
And we have a vote, and it's a big deal, and we can put a lot of passion into it. Meanwhile, our actual elective positions are chosen by sortion, in which people are chosen at random to fill seats over a given amount of time.
Yeah,
And that governing is actually carried out by permanent bureaucracies, which are overseen by a rotating cast of essentially jury duty citizens. But then there are still elections for our lovely, beloved, awesome, beautiful king and queen that
and
we
no,
put a lot of care and passion into, but
this
that
is
are
very
for
important.
figureheads.
This is very important for the American king and queen. Is after they are elected, in order for them to be consecrated as the new king and queen of America, they need to have sex with full penetration on television, and everyone gets to watch it.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. On the day of marriage.
Yeah, we all were. We just it's filmed by Steven Spielberg, and
Yep.
it's like the wedding night. Like the
Yep.
bonds of America, a new generation, are consecrated by this act of like you can throw in some oral there, but it's got to be P and V. It's got to be P and V cream pie.
This is basically the plot of the Terry Southern book Blue Movie, if anyone's ever read that.
Yeah.
I
Where a
think
guy
God, do you think-
where like a Spielberg style star director makes a huge budget porno with the biggest stars of Hollywood.
God,
That would be
I was
our
literally
right.
going to make that
That
joke.
would be what would we be voting for is what movie we get to watch.
Yes.
Who do we get to see fuck?
Who
That's
do we want to
we're
see
voting
suck and
on.
funk? Yes. Better
I
than
have
the current
a,
system, I'll tell you that.
I have a question about the randomly selected citizens as permanent bureaucracy.
Yeah.
Is it like, do I get a per diem if I'm Speaker of the House
Yeah.
for like a month?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
There's a per diem. If you're paid for it, just like you are on jury duty, more than you get for jury duty, though. Like it would be a decent job because it would
Ooh.
No,
take
this is like a
degree
career.
of
Yeah,
like
it's a
real
salary.
commitment to it. It would be a middle class job, but it would also be your job for that period. National service.
Okay.
I will say though, I mean, just back to the defenders of the monarchy and the weepy editorials that we're going to be subjected to for the next week and a half or so, like couple weeks. The shit that I just cannot fathom reading was, and I saw this in a couple different articles, but it was variations on this line. She never complained.
Never
she never
complained.
called out sick. She
She
showed
never
up
did it.
every day for work and just she just grit
In
and
her
bear.
job-
She wasn't showy. She was humble. She was just like I'm
Listen,
sorry.
right. Listen to
She
me,
never
right?
called out sick to what?
Listen,
She showed
right?
up every day.
Okay,
She
listen
lived in
here,
a
mate.
fucking
Listen
palace.
here, mate. No, you listen here, mate. In her job of existing, every day she got up and existed. Okay.
Not anymore.
Yes, but she did it before then.
96
Every day
fucking
when
years.
she was alive, she was alive. Doing her duty is Queen of England for all of us, mate.
That is the most British thing. That is what they love more than anything.
The stiff upper
When you're-
bloody lip, mate.
No, not that, but like
Yeah.
specifically when your life is really like not fun and shitty, but you show no outward signs that you're not enjoying it. And more importantly, you're still wealthy beyond comprehension and ideally making other people's lives bad. That's
Yeah,
their favorite
stiff upper
thing.
lip.
That is
That's their entire value system, is that you ritualize away the appearance of enjoying the shit that you actually enjoy.
But like, I'm sorry, but like, I understand there's a lot of royal duties, and I'm probably sure there's a lot of bullshit that you have to put up with, like which gloves you have to wear on what day, and like what outfit you have to, what attire you're sort of shuffled in and out of. But come on, like she was having fun. There was all
She
just,
was
like,
having a
watching-
laugh.
He was having a laugh. You get to watch ponies fuck each other all day. You get to fucking play
You
with
get
your
to breed the
dogs.
corgis too.
Yeah, you get
A lot of it. A lot
you
of
just- you
supervising
basically, like,
animals
you
fucking.
you watch animals fuck, and then you arrange for your kids to be sold off as breeding stock.
See,
for
and
some
this
of
is
your
what we
later
need to
cousins.
do. We need to democratize that. Instead of her getting to watch all these animals fuck, we get to watch the king and queen fuck.
Oh my
and we
God,
get to
Felix, did
vote
you see
on it. That's the replacement for the monarchy.
Felix, you alluded to it on our last episode when the Queen died, but did you see Stephen Miller's new tweet about the monarchy?
Oh my God. He is
Okay, let me
just like, holy fuck, what is happening to him? What is
well,
happening to like 4 years ago, he was writing Der Stürmer shit, and now it's like, oh my, he's like a fucking little princess in a castle. What the fuck happened?
listen to this.
Did they give him some like experimental drug to quit smoking and it just made him insane? It made him into like some fucking little Britner, some big old gal from Surrey who loves talking about the majesty of the palace. What the fuck?
Felix, some people think like the COVID vaccines makes people turn trans. I think like
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
like this is that equivalent for Stephen Miller. Listen to this though. He says, key to monarchy is its mystery. Key to its mystery is that monarchs descend from an ancient line of fabled kings and queens. Though it may not be apparent now, a long-term concern for UK monarchy will be if, due to marriages, future monarchs have same family trees as their subjects. Okay, like
Oh,
Felix,
no, the fucking House of Hanover, they fucking had the most grain 300 years ago. What the fuck? What mystical line did they come
For
from?
King Arthur, these are fucking square-headed krauts.
Oh, you
They imported
fucking
a bunch of
idiot.
fucking kraut bohunks. There has not been like an Anglo on the throne, honestly, since fucking William the Conqueror.
He's complaining.
You got domed by the frogs so long ago.
He is complaining that this House of fucking Krauts, that they're diluting their bloodline with a USA Network star. That's above. That's above the House of
the House
Hanover.
of
I'm
Saxe
sorry.
Gotha.
Yeah.
Felix,
Holy fuck.
I'm sorry, like maybe you can back me up on this, but like this tweet about the fabled noble lineages of monarchies, and then his other one about how like the power comes from its mystery. Isn't there something fundamentally wrong about a Jewish guy tweeting about saying shit like this
Yes.
about any monarchy, or just like it's just there's something off about it. It just it doesn't add up.
Does he not realize that like the number one, like if you're one of the Crusader Kings, if you're doing IRL Crusader Kings in the Middle Ages, and your subjects are getting restive, the crops are failing, and they still owe taxes. Your number one move there is to just blame the Jews. To send them into the fucking ghettos to crack their skulls open.
The fucking one guy who stood against that in the Age of Kings was Napoleon, the bane of the royals. What a fucking...
And Cromwell too.
Cromwell, yeah.
It's always the guys who break with the royal lineages who are able to be like, "Are you insane?" Because Cromwell's the guy who invited the Jews back to England after they'd been fucking kicked out by Edward Longshank.
Yeah, like I guess his fantasy is to be like a court Jew, like what would the...
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yeah, like Queen Elizabeth's doctor, who by the way was blamed for her death.
Yeah, no, even in his dream, he gets like skinned alive.
I'm just saying, like outside of like, I mean, like the history of like European nobility and and the Jewish peoples of Europe. I just mean like, just like as what is like the as we were talking about earlier, the best of Jewish traditions, Jewish culture. Like, aren't Jewish people just shouldn't they have a little bit more pride in being able to see through this horse shit and like not fucking tear up when you think about noble bloodlines and shit like that?
Yeah. Okay. Look, in a lot of ways, a lot of Jewish people, like there are some aspects of Gentileness that, are desirable, right? Like in the most
Having your
base
foreskin.
sense, having your foreskin,
That would have been nice.
being able to digest milk.
I got that one at least. Thank God. They
Yeah.
couldn't take that one from me.
Yeah. Just being able to process most foods and drink, really. And then in the more complex way, you see this in the film by canceled filmmaker Woody Allen, Hannah and Her Sisters. Just like the ability to not be neurotic. The scene where he becomes Catholic. I'm sorry, still a hilarious scene, even though he's an awful guy. But this is something beyond that. He doesn't want to be like not Jewish because he's, he wants to be able to have a conversation next to a guy at the urinal at the OSU Michigan game. He wants it to I don't know to carry a fucking message from the princess to the duke and live some wretched palace romance. It's really like deeply upsetting. He believes in it more than I think any royal.
Oh yeah, no, those are the people who prop up royalty always. The royalty can never actually act for its own interests because it's too self-satisfied. The engine is those lower orders grinding upward by the usually propelled by their own insanity. And
You
in
know,
his case,
yeah,
they're like psychosexual domination by this force that he wants to control him.
you know what I gotta say. You know how we were talking about how like their ideal thing is someone who's miserable but shows no sign.
Mhm.
They should skip everything, make Kate Middleton the queen now because
Yeah, of course.
she is the best at that. She is having the worst time of her
She
life.
doesn't seem to be enjoying it much. Y
She
It's
is
like you
Alright.
can
she
kinda
is
tell that, like, whatever Meghan Markle went through that made her go, "Fuck this," like, Kate Middleton got her version of it, not along the same axis, but the similar, like, horror,
yeah,
but she just buckled that shit down because she's
yeah,
more of an inbred freak. Like, it's a
yes.
mark of how much of a mutant she is that she didn't rebel. Meghan Markle
She
was
is
being normal.
Yeah, Meghan Markle had the correct. I think that whole. I'm sick of hearing about her. I don't want to
Oh,
hear her
yeah, who
fucking
cares? Shut
podcast
up.
about mental health. I don't care. But she had the right reaction. But Kate Middleton is like doomsday. She's like the alien that killed Superman.
Yes.
She's like the more misery you throw at her, like the more that her hideous husband cheats on her, and the
Oh,
more
This
like awful.
Gollum, like the fact that she married him, like she married him, and it was like she married the Dorian Gray painting, and then she
Yeah,
just got him. She got the painting instead of the guy.
dude, it's fucked up.
He's been getting those
the
monstrous
proudest.
sides. He
Yeah,
looks like
William
Max
used to be
Shrek in
handsome.
fucking Nosferatu,
Dude,
but like if he was a
I kind
bank
of feel bad for
examiner.
William because like he did used to be handsome. He had the
Yeah, for
yeah,
a
look,
minute,
like
for a hot minute.
for a minute. But like the second he turned 30, he went off like a pear being left out overnight.
Like
It
he
was
looked
just
into
all
the
his hair.
goddamn
His hair
ark.
went. My God, like dude, fucking baldness went. His hairline went down like faster than the Maginot line. It just fucking just obliterated.
And then his teeth started to like get more. It seemed like his gums receded or something. Like his teeth got bigger in his
He is
head.
hideous now.
yeah.
He is a
He is hideous.
disgusting
They
creature.
should put an iron mask on him and put him in keep him in the Tower of London.
He got the opposite of braces, and then his face, it was like a fucking chocolate Easter rabbit left on a radiator. But she is like she's like the more misery you put her through, like her disgusting husband cheating on her, the awful duties. Like her favorite thing to do is there'll be 50 tabloid stories about him like fucking like his maid's niece or something, and then it's like the very next day they have to go to a preschool class and like answer questions about what it's like to be like in love, like the most horrifying, humiliating thing you can think of, and just fucking gritting her teeth, smiling through it. The thing where it's like she got pregnant like instantly. It was almost like a fucking Irish wedding. She had like 12 kids within a
Yeah,
week of
just
the
started
wedding.
shooting them out. And there were all those stories about how miserably bad her pregnancies were. Like there were all these leaked stories about how like she was basically had morning sickness for the entire 9 months.
Good
Yeah,
God.
just the worst thing. Probably no epidural, probably nothing. They probably like tried to give her poppy tea just to keep in line with tradition. But like she is even the thing that the British tabloids praised her for, and it's like this is all you need to know about the country. They praised her for not gaining any weight after the pregnancy.
Jesus
Like just
Christ.
she is so
Bless you tight, ma'am.
that's literally it. It's like she is living the worst life you can live for somebody with hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yep, and that
For
makes
literal
her this
princess.
Christ-like figure, and that is why she is appealing because she
All right.
embodies that value. But like honestly, this could all be a promo thing. Like maybe she's having a great time. Maybe this is all kayfabe. Maybe they leak those stories about how bad her pregnancy is. Who knows?
No.
There's no way to see beyond the mask. But her performance of self that we get is of misery, of endured misery for the greater good, which we should
Oh God,
emulate in our lives.
maybe I'm as dumb as Stephen Miller. Listen to me.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, okay. If we're talking about performances of misery, the self performance of misery and suffering, you guys are, of course, going to love you. You will never guess where this royal remembrance comes from. That's right. It's courtesy of Chicago's own John Cass.
No.
Yes. Yes. John Cass has a column called My Mom and the Queen that I think you guys are really going to enjoy. We're going to go long today, but it's worth it. This is another Cass banger. This is, I didn't want to read any of like the Tory Graph or fucking Andrew Sullivan or any actual British person talking about the Queen. We need to hear from the angriest Greek man in Chicago about what his feelings on the reign of Queen Elizabeth II. You boys ready for this?
Hit
Yeah.
me.
John Cass, Dateline, September 11th, 2022. When Queen Elizabeth II died the other day, there were two things I had to do. The first was to call my 92-year-old mom and see how she was
Oh
taking it.
no, his mom's
Like,
alive.
like many women of her World War II generation, my mom revered the 96-year-old queen. She revered Queen Elizabeth for her dignity, her service to her people, for keeping that stiff upper lip whether she felt like it or not, for putting duty and country first, and the queen's stoic reserve at a time when Western culture has become increasingly consumed with cheap theatrical displays of emotion and public sentimentality. I'm not a fan of kings or royals. If you grew up in Chicago,
I'm not a fan of kings or royals, okay?
his mom is. John is just now saying, I'm not a fan of kings or royals. If you grew up in Chicago, you grew up in a city where many were eager to bend the knee and kiss the hand. Rather than support the divine rights of kings and a monarchy, I'd much rather we support a meritocracy of equal opportunity where the best and the hardest working rose to the top. Like
Is
the
that what
NFL.
happened with you? Is
No,
that is
listen to
that the
this.
story of your life, John?
You're never going to guess where he goes with this. I'd
God.
much rather we support a meritocracy of equal opportunity where the best and the hardest working rose to the top, just like the NFL or the English Premier League.
God.
So he says,
God.
it's like, you know what? I mean, I kind of agree with him. Tom Brady's Tom Brady because he's won the most Super Bowls. Look, Peyton and Eli Manning, sure, they're from football royalty, but they proved it on the gridiron.
Okay, yeah. I like the aside he has about how people in Chicago bend the knee and kiss the hand. I
Kiss
don't
the
know
hand.
what he's like alluding to.
Here's the deed.
I do you think there was something in there about? Do you think that it was like that feels incomplete? Like it feels like they're supposed to be kissing someone's hand, and he was going to say like hustlers, some
well,
fucking insane term like that.
here's where he goes with it. He goes, the competition and striving made America great, but we don't have that anymore in America. Instead, we have politics that offer equity, a practice where winners and losers are selected not on merit, but by immutable characteristics like skin pigments. But my mom just loved Queen Elizabeth. I know he didn't even get to the second thing he has to do yet, so keep that in mind.
Also, like he loves talking about Chicago this, Chicago that. But like the idea, especially for an ethnic white person to say that there was just pure colorless meritocracy, like in Chicago. Like that,
Yeah, it was all
there
like whichever Polish uncle you had, that determined what job you got with the city.
yeah, no,
It was like
Chicago.
it was familial.
Chicago, in the time of Cass's life and his fucking horrifyingly alive mother, was essentially, it was like having a monarchy system, but for who gets to be the garbage man. If you were white.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like
Yeah.
Harold Washington, the whole Harold Washington movement was basically trying to break up that ethnic control and like actually de-affirmative actionize the system.
Yeah, he should have gone as far as Cromwell.
Indeed.
So he goes, but my mom just loved Queen Elizabeth. I know, Mom said over the phone, her voice soft. I'm watching on the TV. The Queen is dead. Long live the King. She paused for a moment, sighed deeply, and said, Zwa Sema, life to us. Long live King Charles. As a young woman, my mom left her native Canada and the civilized small town of Guelph, Ontario, to marry my father and make her new life in Chicago, in the tough back of the yards neighborhood. It was a neighborhood of many strong churches and busy taverns and drunks and fights, all of it smelling like a slaughterhouse because the old Union Stockyards was America's slaughterhouse. Sounds like a wonderful place to make your. I mean, imagine. I mean, I don't know. I guess Ontario is pretty boring, but imagine leaving that for the neighborhood that smelled like a slaughterhouse. See,
Yeah.
he loves Chicago. It's all the Chicago colors. We don't have that in America anymore. We don't have neighborhoods that are full of taverns and churches and smell like a cow that just shat and bled itself to death in front of you.
He doesn't he I don't feel like he gets out much. It's like there's still,
No, doesn't he
fucking
just hang around? Like he goes to the hardware store or something? I think that's it.
Now,
yeah,
okay,
he does like a conversational version of cruising, I guess. But he
he goes to
he
the
can't
Home
be
Depot and looks for a guy with which color apron corresponds to what kind of conversation you want to have: sports, the weather, or power tools.
yeah, I guess rough trade is like ethnic jokes.
Yeah. Okay, keep in mind though that this column ostensibly started about like his mom liking the Queen of England. Now, just brace yourself for this tree of life style fucking memory that John Cass has sharing from his mom.
God.
He goes, as a newlywed, she once looked out their apartment window to the corner tavern where she saw a man get completely knocked out of his shoes with one punch. They must have been slip ons, loafers, she said once. It had been raining and the shoes just stayed there as he flew backwards. I said to myself, welcome to Chicago, and life is just a bowl of cherries. Did I tell your father about the man who was punched out of his shoes? Of course not.
What what
What?
what
What's the point of that
the
story?
fuck? Oh my
She
god.
saw the
That's
first
so
knockout
weird.
game.
As she settled into the unfamiliar world of her new life in Chicago, Elizabeth became Queen and my mom's touchstone. She didn't talk about the Queen with her friends. She didn't act like some royal groupie. But I was her son. I knew. And there was that National Geographic of the coronation on the coffee table she kept for years. Some Americans take inspiration from sports stars and showbiz types, but there once was an America where performers weren't considered leaders or role models any more than actors or tap dancers. Again, like, what century is
What
his
the
brain in?
fuck? This
I
is
remember I remember in America where people didn't look to tap dancers for moral instruction.
yeah, it used to be about how hard you work, not how well you dance to Charleston. What the fuck are you talking about?
It's so
These kids
he is
today
out of his fucking mind.
with their minstrel shows and their and
I have a feeling you wouldn't complain about that.
no, probably not.
He
Their penny dreadful magazines.
he's like he must have been getting into the sausage again because this is like
Yeah.
old Cass. I love the thing about like wait, like why wouldn't she tell the dad about the shoes? Like it
And
just
why wouldn't she
Yes, 'cause
tell
he
her
didn't want
friends
him
that
to
she liked
worry
Queen
about her,
Elizabeth?
that the neighborhood might be rough. I don't know.
And I also,
Oh
I
my
also,
God.
I also like he said,
knockout game out there.
I also like that he said she wasn't some royal groupie. She just kept the commemorative National Geographic magazine in our living room for 40 years.
Does he know
Yeah,
what the word
that's-
groupie means?
Yeah.
She was getting slutted
Yeah,
out by
exactly.
Lord
You
Mountbatten.
have to have sex with them, I think, to be groupies, right?
Actually, John may have been getting slutted out by Lord Mountbatten if we know his proclivities. Zing!
Mm.
It's like he's like my mom is a great old gal who left Ontario, and not once did she ever get a passport, fly to England, and to fuck a 15-year-old Prince Charles. I don't know what any of this means for any
Well,
of
it keeps
us.
going. It keeps going. We have not even gotten to the most insane part of this article yet.
Oh boy.
As a girl, my mother had listened to the bombing of London on the radio. As her father, my grandfather, fought in Europe for Canada in his Second World War, and in his Second World War, having also fought in World War One.
Damn.
And the House of Windsor and Winston Churchill led Great Britain through the darkness, not by cheap and sensational emotional speeches, not by cheap theatrics, but by example. Elizabeth's stoicism meant everything to my mother. She and millions across the world took inspiration from the English monarch. And because my mom felt this way, there was the second thing I had to do. Okay, I'm going to give you guys a
Oh
chance.
no.
I'm going to give you guys a chance to see if you can guess what the second thing John Cass had to do after talking to his 92-year-old mother on the phone is when he heard the news that Queen Elizabeth had died.
Okay, Matt,
Best guess.
you go first.
Go to the hardware store.
Okay, Felix.
Okay. I'm gonna say go to her house and like sand off a bunion.
No, Okay, you ready for this?
Okay.
And because my mom felt this way, there was that second thing I had to do. Rewatch and reconsider a superb 2006 film, The Queen, starring Helen Mirren as Queen Elizabeth II.
He had to do that?
You had to. You had
What
to do it,
the
Mad Dog. You had to
fuck?
do it.
I could never in a million fucking years imagine that, like, okay, like he was like, yeah, my mom is a huge fan of Queen Elizabeth II. I had to talk to her. Me personally, I'm a huge fan of Stephen Frears' 2006 film The Queen, starring Helen Mirren.
My
That is
God.
amazing.
Oh my God.
The Queen is the exact type of movie where it is only remembered because it got some big star their Oscar finally.
Yep.
It has no cultural resonance whatsoever.
No
He is the
resonance
first person to have thought of
whatsoever.
that movie in a decade.
Listen to this. Listen to this.
You gonna talk about the
Especially
King's
now.
speech next?
Especially now, with the Queen to be lying in state and celebrity news commentators and their political agendas working overtime. What the fuck is he talking about? He's just
Oh
like,
my
he's getting
God.
preemptively mad at celebrity news commentators and their political injecting their political agenda into the royal
God,
funeral.
they're getting their politics into my royalties.
What? Like,
It's a tragedy.
he can't watch anything but Newsmax, and he's just like imagining like he even like his most hated news channel, like MSNBC, wouldn't be like, "Oh, this colonial bitch is dead." Like, what
Listen to
the
this.
fuck is he talking
He's not
about?
even dead. He's not even done yet. He says, with the Queen lying in state and celebrity news commentators and their political agendas working overtime, along with revisionist worm tongues who would make history unrecognizable. So if you haven't seen it, allow me to recommend it. It's worth your time. You might think me foolish to focus on a movie. I'd never, John. I love movies, especially when there is so much news and live commentary about the royals now. But will the media peel its own skin? What? But will the media peel its own skin? The
Gross.
film deals with the modern political celebrity media culture that demanded Queen Elizabeth humble herself, wear her emotions on her sleeve for all to see, to the delight of the emotionally unhinged mob that really didn't know Diana, but hysterically wept for her. Dude, your mom doesn't know the fucking Queen, and she's crying over this old bat. What are you talking about? What are you
I
talking about?
Oh my God, I love that he is an American who hates Diana.
Yes,
You could tell
yes.
he like
She was
fucking
a
hates.
trollop. She embarrassed the family.
She could have gotten AIDS
Gallivanting
into the
around with
palace.
that
he gave
Mohammedan.
AIDS to the Queen by touching all those people.
he
She was
is
cavorting with a Saracen.
he's the what we found him, the one American who just not even Anglo, not a drop of Anglo blood, and he's like, that bitch Diana
Okay,
Spencer.
dude. Okay, you guys are not. The article's not over yet. Like
Oh boy.
it gets so much more insane. Listen to
Oh
this.
my God.
Helen Mirren won an Oscar for her performance. She's brilliant in this, a study in control, just like her subject. And it mirrors exactly what my mother and many others loved about Queen Elizabeth II. The film focuses on the difficult period following the death of former Princess Diana Spencer 25 years ago. The Queen refused to participate in the national drama about Diana. She wanted no part of it. The media didn't like her silence, and her approval ratings dropped. Elton John so wanted to perform at the funeral and all but demanded it. He recast his song about Marilyn Monroe, the Hollywood sex goddess who committed suicide after being passed around like some broken toy by the Kennedy brothers. His
A
song about
broken toy? I'm sorry.
Why would you
it's just
pass
what-
around a broken toy? You probably put it in the garbage.
He's such a like just in fundamental ways is such a terrible writer. Like
Really true.
his command of like analogies and similes is just it's like if you were showing a remedial student what not to do.
But like it's just like he has the brain of an old woman though. It's like his mother's brain has been like some sort of like Freaky Friday has put essentially his mother's sensibility about Diana thought she was too big for the she was a pop star into the body of a man who's been eating sausage and watching the Bears for the last 60 years.
Okay, this is probably why he has trouble getting out and making friends. It's like there are probably like plenty of big old Polacks who would love to talk to him about like the Bears fucking suck, blah blah blah. Oh, remember? I wish we could bring Ozzie Guillen back, and he's just over there, and he's like, Can you believe that people are talking about Diana today?
No, he
Like,
the guy,
what?
yeah, no, like he'd be at
It's
the local tavern.
disrespectful.
He'd be at the local tavern trying to talk about the Bears, and then be like, "Oh, what do you think of their defensive line this year?" And then John Cass would be like, "I used to love the Bears until they made the game all about celebrity when they did that awful Super Bowl shuffle song."
Yeah, he's
The
like,
mawkish
yeah.
sensibilities of the unhinged mob hooting and hollering for the refrigerator Perry doing the shuffle. No, thank you. This is about meritocracy and honor.
There's probably a lost John
Take
Cass
those
column.
sunglasses off, Jim McMahon. Take them off. You're inside.
It's probably like a lost John Cass column from the day that Walter Payton died, where it's like, well, looks like you finally got your comeuppance for your violent rap all those years ago. They're like, John, we can't run this.
Okay, listen to this. Listen to this. Okay, his song about Norma Jean was refit to cast Diana as the English Rose. Was it dignified to refit a song from Monroe as the funeral anthem for Diana? Would you want it done for your sister or mother or wife at their funeral? I mean, yeah, I would. I mean, like, if Elton
Sounds
John
nice.
wants to do a personal tribute to my daughter, sister, wife, or mother,
be
then yeah,
honored,
I'd be
sir.
fine with that. I would
But
Marilyn, no,
Alvin
you
and Elton John, these are some of the great talents of our time.
No, you don't get it. You don't get it. Marilyn Monroe, she wasn't a virgin
She was
when she got
gross.
married. So
Well,
she's
yeah, here it
she's
goes.
gross.
Yeah. If you ask that, I suppose then I have no further questions for you. But I wouldn't want a song at a family funeral associated with a broken goddess, plaything of American political royalty. But maybe that's just me.
He's so fucked up. He is he's the most
He should
bitter,
choke. He should
fucked up.
choke.
Oh my, he's like he was like barely alive when she was, and he's like furious about her having sex.
Yes.
He's like just disgusted with her, and he's trying like he's so like he's trying to conceal it with like, oh, she was like used by men, but like really at the heart of that is like that disgusting bitch. She was already used up by the time she got to Arthur Miller.
It's the Madonna whore thing. Like, we have Queen Elizabeth or I guess Diana, and then you have Marilyn Monroe. Just like now we have Kate Middleton and Meghan Markle. We've got a Madonna and whore all over again, and we should be able to vote on which one we see naked.
Yeah. But listen to this.
Like,
he goes further with it. If you talk about like the Madonna horror thing, listen to this. He goes, "It could just be me and my cultural deficiencies and weaknesses. But then we don't sing songs at our funerals, except perhaps lamentations. At Diana's funeral extravaganza, Marilyn Monroe melded with the English Rose as if they were spiritual sisters. And the thing about that is, like, actually the comparison between Marilyn Monroe and Princess Diana is kind of apt. Because, like, I mean, both in like the celebrity that they were, elevated to, the things that people read into them, the sexuality, but also the way in which they were kind of like used and driven to their deaths by the people around them. Either, murder in one case, suicide, overdose in the other.
Both leave a lot of questions, I would say.
Yeah, well, alleged murder. I mean, like, your mileage may vary, but it says here, okay.
Yeah.
The prime minister at the time was
her
Tony
mileage
Blair.
did vary.
Oh, yes.
R.I.P.
The prime minister at the time was Tony Blair, a slickster who had much in common with the former president Bill Clinton. It was Clinton who could emote on a dime. Americans wanted that sort of thing then, and then the world came to want it too. Everything became about your feelings. I love that. I love that he's like a fuck your feelings guy, because he's the most maudlin cocksucker on the planet. There is nobody whose feelings are elevated to like a more fucking a hysterical high pitch than this fucking sausage snarfing fucking twat.
He just had a tantrum over a song dedicated to Marilyn Monroe being used at Diana's funeral. Like, just the things he takes offense at are things I would never guess. Like, just this very suggestion of sexuality. Like, and that song isn't like, oh, Marilyn, you were fucked by all the big guys. It's like, it's a sad song. It just, the being within 100 square miles of like vaginal penetration, just, it destroys him.
When Blair christened Diana post-mortem as the People's Princess, public sentiment in the UK turned against the Queen, who had refused to dance and emote. He's doing the floss dance. He's doing the Dougie.
I was too disgusted by his his everything that I missed that he said Bill Clinton could emote on a dime. Another
Drop
just
an emote. He can drop
brilliant.
an emote right on a dime. Boom.
What would that mean, John? The phrase is turn
He
on a
just
dime.
he would do a press conference, and then he would just have them like at an improv show. He just yell out emotions, and then he would just do them right then and there.
But it's like then you would say if you're like he's already using a cliche, but then you would say like at the drop of a hat, you know.
Yeah,
But he says that like you turn on it. It's hard to turn on a dime because of the radius. You
it's
fucking
true.
Hellenic idiot.
He doesn't write good. He is a product of that mid-century affirmative action. Just like, hey,
Yeah.
are you an ethnic white guy who is like in some vague way related to World War II? Well, here you go.
Did he go to a
Here's a
yeshiva?
job writing where your job is going to be to complain every day about how everybody around you is complaining all the time.
Yep. Yep.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to breeze through the end here. It says, it was that refusal to give into emotion that kept England strong through the bombings and kept their spirit up. Would satisfying our inner snowflakes lead a nation and keep it strong? And when she finally capitulates to save the monarchy, the Tony Blair character congratulates her for demonstrating proper humility. You're confusing humility with humiliation, she says. Boom. There will be hours and
Boom?
hours and hours. Yeah, boom. That's just one line, one
He
word.
wrote
Boom.
boom.
Mic drop. He wrote boom.
Oh
Like
my
mic drop. He wrote
goodness.
boom.
That's hilarious.
There will be hours and hours and hours of news coverage about the Queen's funeral. There will be much gossip and intrigue. The worm tongues will be in all their glory. Before she died, she approved of each step of the funeral rites, from the processions to the songs that will be played, and who stands where. It's all political theater approved by an extremely strong woman who didn't want to shed public tears, but who knew the power of ceremonial and ritual. Who knew the power of ceremonial and ritual? Shouldn't it be the power of ceremony and ritual? Forget, fuck it. Who
Yeah.
cares? The choreographers pull it at a nation's heartstrings. Last line of this article: do yourself a favor and watch The Queen. Just incredible. Incredible. Like, just, I'm so glad he doesn't have an editor anymore. That was a virtuoso performance by an opinion columnist.
Oh man.
He really is the best, you know?
He's
Like
the goat. He's it's unbelievable.
how do you end that on watch the like
What's this fucking movie?
That was like one of those Larry King tweets.
Yeah.
Do yourself
It's my
a
2
favor
cents.
and watch the Queen.
he at no point does he like explain why the movie's good.
Yeah, he doesn't even say. He just says like, yeah, she's in it and she has to do stuff. He doesn't say anything about what makes it a good film.
Do you think that there was like they tried to do like movie night at John Cass's house with like his loose acquaintances from the bar, and they're like, oh, let's put on the Expendables, let's put on, and he's just putting on bullshit like this, like weeping at the majesty of the Queen,
And everybody
like,
just sort of awkwardly slips away one at a time.
yeah.
Just
Then he
Irish
just starts
buys him while he's just wrapped watching the show.
yeah, he's drinking like an ouzo cocktail, and he's like, "Did you know she showed students how to use a diaphragm for cunnilingus?" He's just still complaining about Diana.
Oh man. What a
He's the
fucking
best.
He's the best. He's the fucking
I'm
best.
so glad you like got into him, Will. I
I'm a
like
cast head. I gotta be a cast
yeah.
head. Just the anecdote about her, just like out of nowhere. The story about how his mom told him, but not his dad, that she saw a guy get punched out of his shoes, like a fucking Looney Tunes character.
I really wish that he had like made it to the big leagues in his career. Like I would have loved. I would have.
If he was like a
for Trump.
CNN contributor and you got to see him on the news, like talking and shit.
My mom when she was a kid, she saw a piano fall from a 3rd floor balcony onto a guy's head. And then he popped his head out of the top and his teeth were the piano keys. And she never told my father.
He's too artistic to ever be like a CNN talking head.
He'll never sell out. He'll never sell out.
They probably did like a screen test where he's on Fox News or something, and he just starts like crying, like they're talking
point.
about
Guys like him generally make at least some sort of a stab at a TV career because it's such easy money. It's very hard to say no to. I mean, how many millions of fucking like sports writers got TV careers out of like Around the
Yeah.
Horn and shit.
Yeah,
They
Bernard
put Jay
Goldberg.
Mariotti on
Did it.
TV.
It's
Probably
Bernard
because,
Goldberg.
Jerry Mariotti got on TV. Maybe he's just too off-putting.
Bernard
Yeah, I
Goldberg.
think-
He's an industry plant. He's an industry plant. John Cass. He's in the streets. He's for real.
Yeah, I do. We went to Bernard Goldberg's hood. No one knew him. He's straight from the industry. Fucking John Cass they probably did a screen test around like Lev Parnas, that era, and he went on and he's like, my mother is 90 years old and she has never even heard of finger banging. they're like, what the fuck?
You're supposed to be defending Trump on the Ukraine perfect call. And he was like, I know, damn it. Let me cook.
He just starts crying about how like the flower shop near his house has a black assistant now. Just like, this is too weird. Like, what the fuck is this?
You know, he goes going off on a tangent about how Florence Nightingale like got her pussy ate, and that's why she's not worthy of being celebrated.
Yeah. He's like, Eleanor
He's like, you know Helen
Roosevelt.
Keller jacked off one time? Fuck this death bitch.
I could picture it. It's just like, yeah, it's it'd be like the first impeachment, and they're like, can you, like, they listened in on his phone call, and he's like, in my day, there weren't these Beats headphones worn by urban gentlemen. Lori Lightfoot's perfect downtrodden oppressed. We would take a record player and we wouldn't leave 10 paces outside our mother houses, and we would dance to Bing Crosby. And you know what? Eleanor Roosevelt, the moment that it was okay, she started wearing jeans. A first lady wearing blue jeans like a cowhand would. And you wonder why we went through the troubles we did as a nation.
Oh, please give this man a TV show, please.
Before it's too late, because it might be too late very soon.
Yeah, he's decaying.
Oh man, we went real long today, but it was worth it. It was worth it for that
Absolutely.
cast column. It was absolutely worth it. What a joy. What a fucking joy. All right. We did the plugs up top, so I think we should just say bon voyage, and just our thoughts are with the Queen and the whole royal family.